Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for the Tech Guy is provided by Cashfly. CACHEFLY.com. Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. This show originally aired on the Premiere Network Saturday, September 16th, 2017. This is episode 1422. Enjoy. The Tech Guy podcast is brought to you by Texture. Access the world's most popular magazines anytime, anywhere using your smartphone or tablet. Try it free for 14 days at texture.com/twit. And by Qualcomm's Snapdragon Gigabit LTE. To make the most of your unlimited data plan, go to snapdragon.com/gigabit. And by Rocket Mortgage from Quicken Loans. Home plays a big role in your life. That's why Quicken Loans created Rocket Mortgage. It lets you apply simply and understand the entire mortgage process fully so you can be confident you're getting the right mortgage for you. Get started at rocketmortgage.com/techguy. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy. And as always on the weekends, time to talk about computers and the internet and home theater and digital photography and smartphones, smart watches. We've got three new smartphones, and a new smartwatch to talk about today. The Apple event came off without a hitch at the brand new Steve Jobs Theater on Tuesday. I didn't go, I wasn't invited, but I was able to watch the live stream. Maybe some of you did as well. Apple, it's amazing, really, Apple's ability to get the, hearts and minds of people, to get their attention. It's a brilliant marketing feat to get all those journalists clamoring for invitations to visit the brand new campus. This was the first time anybody had gone onto the campus from the outside world, and of course, people got to see the Steve Jobs Theater for the first time. Beautiful, beautiful theater. I mean, the images I saw were just stunning. 1,500 seats, only 350, or no, I guess 1,000 seats. Only 350 of them, about a third of them were for the press. The rest were Apple employees. And that's so they get a nice applause, and the executives who are presenting get a good feeling about it. What did we see? Well, they started off by with a tribute to Steve Jobs. It was touching and beautiful. Steve's own voice was heard at the beginning, and talking about Apple's great mission to create brilliant products, and Steve was the master of that. But let's face it, he was also the master of marketing and the cool keynote, and he really inspired these Apple keynotes and made them as important as they are. After that, for the first time ever, we saw Apple's head of retail, Angela Arendt's. Interesting story. She was hired away from the British trench coat company, the fashion company Burberry, and she came on stage in a Burberry coat, a trench. Well, it's fashioned like a trench coat, but it was made of lacy pink material, so it really wasn't like any trench coat I'd ever seen before. But Ms. Arendt's talked about Apple's retail. She says, we don't call them stores anymore. We call them town squares where people gather. Apple has an interesting vision of the future of retail. When everything is purchased online, and more that's the case, right? Even with Apple equipment, what is the role of the store? It's not merely to sell stuff. It's to create an experience, to create a sense of what the company's about and what its products mean and how you could use them. And that's what they're going to do with all the Apple stores. In fact, they have some really iconic locations. The biggest New York store, the Fifth Avenue store, is being remodeled and won't be open for a year. But there's a store in Grand Central Station. There's a store in the Carnegie Library, an old Carnegie Library in Washington, D.C. In France, they've taken over a classic old building in a very important part of the shopping district of Paris. So these are really amazing buildings. And then they're turning them into as much a place to go and just kind of experience Apple and learn how to use stuff, but also, just kind of experience the Apple ethos. So I think it's very interesting. After that, Tim Cook came on stage, introduced the new Apple Watch, which will have cellular in it. That means you will be able to make and take phone calls on your new Apple Watch, but you'll still have to own an iPhone It's just that the iPhone doesn't have to be in the same place as the Apple Watch. You could take it for a run. It will have your iPhone's phone number, and you will pay an additional $10 a month to the carrier for the privilege. So we'll see how excited people are about it. It feels to me like it's the Apple Watch that, here we are in the 4th generation Apple Watch. It really is the Apple Watch that Apple wanted to make all along. A lot more health features, a lot more fitness features, and the ability to make phone calls. They also announced the new Apple TV 4K. None of this was a surprise, by the way. The rumor mill was pretty accurate with everything. In fact, I would say 100% accurate with everything. The new Apple TV supports the new 4K TVs with HDR. Both HDR standards, both the big ones anyway, HDR10 and Dolby Vision are supported. That's nice. And really nice for us consumers, Apple is going to offer 4K HDR video at the same cost as HD video for rental and purchase. Movie industry wanted to charge more. In fact, most other services, they charge a significant premium for UHD content, but they won't on Apple. Obviously, Apple has a little negotiating clout there. Apple also has agreed to upgrade HD movies you purchased to 4K. That's nice, too. The new Apple TV will start at $179 for the 32 gig version, at $200 for the 64 gig. And this and the new watch will be available for order. Actually, they were you could pre-order them starting yesterday, right? Yeah, yesterday, and they will arrive next week sometime. Some new iPhones, 3 new iPhones. The iPhone 8 and 8 Plus, which are evolutionary improvements on the existing iPhone 7. Faster processor means the camera will be able to do more, including a new portrait lighting mode that's pretty intriguing. Lets you drop out the background in a portrait so you don't see what's behind a person. You can also change the lighting from one angle to another. It's all done computationally. They have such fast processors in these new iPhones. Apple designs their own processors that there's enough, extra oomph to do a lot of computational stuff in the camera. That's where Apple has really had shine in the last few iPhones. So that's the 8 and the 8 Plus. And then, of course, the phone we were waiting for, the iPhone 10. The iPhone 10 will, as we expected, be expensive. It starts at $999. And that's for the 128 gigabyte storage option. If you want more storage, 256, you'll be paying $150 more than that. It has a beautiful OLED screen. I have to say, not significantly more beautiful than the one, for instance, on the Note 8, which was also released this week. The Note 8 is a gorgeous OLED screen. In fact, I think Apple's buying its screens from Samsung and LG maybe, but certainly from Samsung. So it's not a surprise that the screen is similar to the Note 8. Maybe not quite as good as the Note 8, actually. The Note 8 has a higher resolution screen. But the vivid OLED colors, you'll really like those. If you've not used an OLED phone before, I think you'll appreciate how dark the blacks are and how rich and pure and vibrant the colors are. They're beautiful screens. However, this screen is smart, and I'm curious how people feel about this. By a chunk taken out of the top, Apple had to make room. They wanted the screen to go edge to edge, and they had to make room for sensors and cameras up at the top, so they took a bite out of it. And it looks, I don't think it looks good. It looks like there's just a notch out of the screen with 2 ears as the screen continues. It will cut into content if you're watching a movie that uses the screen. Part of it will be obscured by this notch. I don't like that. They also eliminated, and this is a big deal, the Touch ID. No more fingerprint reading. They are, as we expected, using face recognition until we get the phone. And by the way, we won't be getting it soon. Orders start October 27th, more than a month from now. With first deliveries happening November 3rd, I suspect this will be very much in short supply. It'd be very hard to get one. And so, and at $1,000, you'll have to really want it badly to get online at midnight or get in line in an Apple store to get it. But that's what you'll have to do. If you want to get in time for Christmas, you're going to have to do that. You're going to have to buy it at 12:01 on a.m. on October 27th. The face recognition, we won't know how good it is until we actually see it in action. So I'm not going to weigh in on that. It's a little concerning. What's really concerning to me, though, is with the elimination of the Touch ID, you also lose the home button. And that means the user interface is different on the iPhone 10. It's an X, by the way, and a lot of people will call it X, but it's 10. The user interface will require, instead of home button presses to exit or back out of a program, you'll have to swipe up. It's going to take some getting used to. What's even weirder is that Apple is now going to be selling a huge variety of phones. They're going to continue selling the SE, the 6S, the 7, the 7 Plus, the 8, the 8 Plus, and the X. Some have headphone jacks. Some, the newer ones, don't. Some have Touch ID. The newest one doesn't. It's a little bit confusing. And the user interface is different on the new iPhone 10 compared to the new iPhone 8. It's weird. I'm not sure if I'm thrilled about what Apple's doing. Of course, we'll get one of these phones as soon as we can. It might be next year, and I'll have a review for you. But enough of that. I just wanted to give you a recap of what Apple announced. Let's get to the phones. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Your call's next. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. We're talking about what? Oh, tech. Yeah. And let me take a phone call. How about that? Enough of me talking, and say hi to Jorge in Moreno Valley, California. Hi, Jorge.
Hello, how are you today?
I'm wonderful. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
A couple questions.
Yes.
What doorbell do you recommend me for a wireless speaker?
The wireless doorbell. Well, I have to tell you, I have a little bit of a prejudice because one of the companies, Ring, is a sponsor, but it's also the one I use. So there's Skybell, there's Ring. There are a number of no-name Chinese companies. I wouldn't recommend them. Here's the issue with devices like this. These are what we call IoT, or Internet of Things devices. Have you heard that phrase, IoT?
No.
This is a whole new category because computing has gotten so cheap and so small. We can put wireless receivers and computers in almost anything, including doorbells, cameras, refrigerators, microwave ovens. I have a toaster oven that's connected to the internet. Anytime you connect an appliance to the internet, that becomes an IoT, Internet of Things device. And it poses some particular security issues because it's on your Wi-Fi. If it's not... Go ahead.
I wouldn't have a problem with that because I'm a network guy.
Yeah. The last thing you want to have is somebody using some junky IoT device as a gateway into your system. And it's a theoretical possibility. There's also an issue with cameras, and of course, a video doorbell has a camera as well, because somebody could get into your camera and look at what's going on. Now, the good thing about a doorbell, it's just pointing at your front stoop, so it's not like anything private.
It'll be in my front gate.
Yeah, there's nothing private going on there, but certainly if you're getting an indoor camera, a security camera for indoor, you really do want to be careful to make sure that something is secure. The companies that do a good job, Ring is absolutely one of them. And I'll tell you an anecdote that encourages me about Ring. Nest and the other products from Google's Nest division are particularly secure, I'm told, by security experts. What you're looking for is something, A, made by a company that has a reputation to maintain and cares about security, and B, has the wherewithal, the means, the ability to update a device wirelessly over the air. And that's one of the reasons I like the Ring. A few months ago, a security researcher found a problem with the Ring. If somebody took, and this, by the way, is far-fetched, but somebody came up to your door, took the Ring off your door, then took it over to their computer, plugged it in, and then was able to get information. They would be able to get your Wi-Fi login and password so that they could get on your network. Then they could reattach the Ring and they'd have access to your Wi-Fi. That's a problem, even though Ring has a security screw holding it in and stuff like that. And, of course, you'd have video of the guy doing it, but that's a problem. The good news is the researcher told Ring about it before he went public, and Ring fixed it before he went public because proving they have the ability to push firmware updates to the doorbell whenever there's a security issue, and they have the willingness to do so, and that's very encouraging. So I totally trust the Ring doorbell. It works well. I think they're a good company. They've got a proven track record, so that's the one I use and trust. But again, they are an advertiser, so you might say, well, Leo, obviously there's a conflict of interest here. I tried the Skybell. Somebody called the show some time ago and said, this Skybell, I can't get it to work. So I bought one to see if I get it to work, and I didn't like it. I didn't get it to work, but they have since made improvements. So I have to say I haven't tried the new.
Wireless?
It's totally wireless. So there's two ways you can use the Ring. Obviously, it's wireless internet. It uses Wi-Fi. But it has both a wired doorbell, so if you have an existing doorbell, you can replace it with the Ring, and They have the original ring is a little bigger, has a battery, lithium-ion battery. It can go up to a year without being connected at all. So that can be put anywhere. If you want to
power-wise, I'm good. I
Yeah.
just need the doorbell to be wireless. The Ringo.
The Wi-Fi is wireless, and I'll tell you what, I love it. In fact, I can even on my Amazon Echo, I can say,
Oh, nice.
I can say, Echo, show me my front door. And I'm not at work right now, by the way.
Getting the front door camera.
Yeah, I love the Echo.
Yeah, and I'm not at the front door. Now, this is the Echo Show, which has a screen.
Picking it up.
So it's waking up the doorbell. And this is the case with a lot of IoT devices. They sleep unless they see motion or somebody rings the doorbell. Or in this case, I pinged it. So I'll try it again. Echo, show my front door. Now, this is a skill, so you have to put the Ring skill.
Enable it, yeah.
Enable it. But you can see a picture of your front door. It didn't hear me. Echo, show my front door.
At my house.
Okay, getting the front door camera.
So it's kind of cool that you can see your front door. I'm not even at home, and so I can see and talk to my front door. I like these doorbells. In general, I think the idea of a video camera on your doorbell that you can see on the internet, that you can talk to and listen, it has motion, those are great. And there are a number of them that do that. I think that generally the category is it's like one of the first IoT things I would recommend without hesitation. But make sure they've got a good security.
Okay, I have one more question.
Sure.
What IP cameras do you recommend me? The reason why I won't go IP is it's easier to run just a regular PoE, Cat 5 cable, Cat 6, with power.
That's an interesting question. And now you got the issue that I mentioned, which is you want to make sure that you're getting a camera that is secure because, you still have this problem that any IoT device has. It could be a gateway for a hacker into your network. But now it could also be an eyeball for your hacker into your house. So
security-wise, I'm not too.
Is it going to be indoors or outdoors?
Outdoors.
Okay. So Ring makes an IP camera. In fact, they also have one that's solar powered, doesn't even need power. Those are good choices. I actually use not a Ring product, but the Nest outdoor cam, and I really love those. I'm getting very high quality images from it. The negative on the Nest is that you have to pay a monthly or yearly subscription because they don't store the video. You don't store it locally. They store it on their servers. I like that because I don't want to have to run a DVR in the house attached to it.
No, yeah, I do want to do DVR. Okay.
So those would be bad choices for a DVR. I would look. We use a Synology DVR with Axios, AXIOS cameras.
Give me AX.
I think it's iOS cameras. Am I getting? Yeah. Nope. Let me make sure I'm spelling that right. Because is it Axia? Maybe. I gotta find it. No, it's not Axios. What is it? What's it called, John? What's the name of our camera? Is it Axia? Hey, he doesn't even know. Axis, AXIX. Yeah, there you go. They make great IP cameras. I like them a lot. They have pan, tilt, zoom as well as fixed cameras. We use a lot of them. And we use in other companies, and I just don't remember off the top of my head. But Axis.
And how's the night vision?
Well, on the Ring and the Ring has night vision and the Nest has night vision. If you want night vision, you'll have to get the specific Axis camera that has night vision.
Okay.
Hey, thanks for the call. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Time for the home theater guy, Scott Wilkinson, our home theater geek. And by the way, that's not an insult when I say that. That's the name of his podcast.
That's right. And I take no insult whatsoever. Wear the geek flag proudly.
Yes, sir. As do I. He's also the editor-in-chief of the AVS Forum, which is probably one of the most prestigious online collections of information about home theater there is. I think that they're the best. In fact, increasingly print magazines are going away, and people are finding this information online, and the AVS Forum is a great source. For a long time, it was just forums. In fact, I used the AVS Forum when I wrote my book on hacking the TiVo. They were a great resource.
Oh, yeah.
That goes back 15 years or something. And so they've been around since then. But what's really nice is now they've added a whole bunch of editorial content, articles and reviews and things. And you've done a great job putting that together for them. So
thank you.
Yeah, really nice.
That's what I'm in charge of. But we also, as you say, have the forum community where, if I don't know the answer to a question, somebody among the over 1 million members undoubtedly will.
Well, that's what I always say here. I can't answer every possible question. No one could.
Right.
But if you call in, we've got the chat room, we've got the listeners. There's about 1 million people listening at any given time that can help you. avsforum.com if you're interested in a home theater. And that's everything from headphones to screens to speakers, even DVD or Blu-ray reviews. It's good.
Yep.
Actually, I see so I have, as you know, in my old place, I had a big screen that came down from the ceiling. I had a remote control, and I had a projector, which I somehow misplaced. I think I gave it to I think when Henry graduated from high school, I gave it to the high school.
Oh, that's nice.
And I think they kept it.
It was an Epson, as I recall.
It was an Epson. I'm just wondering, before you get to I know you have your reader question, but maybe you can help me.
Sure.
I think it's probably time to get a new one. I still have the screen, and I feel like they probably improved a lot. Have they?
Tremendously. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Just as TVs have improved, these projection displays have improved.
Exactly.
What should I be looking for?
Well, it depends on your budget, as always. That's the first question. The lower cost units, I typically like Epson, as you had before, but they're still
our sponsor. They sponsor the show, by the way. But
okay,
has nothing to do with it. You like?
I actually didn't know that, so that's good.
Okay.
But I really like Epson products. I mean, they make really good, really cost-effective projectors. Many of them are now pseudo 4K, which is to say they have a 1080p imager, and they take each of those pixels and kind of wiggle them quickly back and forth between two different positions.
They did. It's funny. These projector companies did the same thing when HD came out. They took 720p or 800p projectors and they doubled them or whatever to give them high def.
In those days, that was called wobulation.
Well, now I've learned a very useful new word, wobulation. Very useful.
Wobulation. They don't call it that anymore. I've coined the phrase pixel wiggling. So they're wiggling back and forth. They generate a higher number of pixels than 1080p. It's still not true 4K resolution or even Ultra HD resolution, but they can accept a UHD or 4K signal and display it.
Am I going to break the bank, though, if I go out and get a true 4K projector that supports HDR? Is that going to be...
Well, yeah, the true 4K, there's the only company I know that makes true 4K at this point is Sony.
Wow.
And they make some beautiful projectors. I think the least expensive 4K UHD HDR projector is going to be on the order of $8,000. And they go up from there, well into the five figures. All
right.
So
I'm going to go with the wobulation. Thank you.
Now, JVC also has a true 4K now. They also do this pixel wiggling thing with most of their projectors. But they do have one that is true 4K, but it's $35,000.
So we're a little behind then the direct view screens in terms
projectors are a little bit. That's true. That is absolutely true. In addition, they're a little bit behind in terms of HDR, high dynamic range, which we've talked about on this show before, which is the difference between black and white, basically. And
that would be hard in a projector, though, right?
I mean, very hard. Yeah. Very hard. Yes, because unlike a TV where you have a well-known, what's your peak brightness? I know what my peak brightness is, says the TV, and I know what my black level is. I know what my dynamic range is. But with a projector, that all depends on the screen, how big a screen you have, what kind of screen it is, and the room it's in.
Wow. So
there's really no way to be as specific about high dynamic range with a projector as there is with a TV.
Interesting.
So that makes it more difficult. But projector companies are coming through with doing the best they can.
Sounds like I should wait.
Well, you'll be waiting a while, I would say, if it's going to get significantly better than where we are now.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. You're going to end up waiting some years, and by that point, maybe we'll have these direct micro LED emitting displays, which are basically wall-sized flat panels that have tiny little red, green, and blue LEDs that are creating the image directly. And then you're going to see something special.
So it sounds like projection really has seen better days.
I wouldn't say that. I think projection is still the best way to get a cinematic experience and a giant screen. Yeah. Yes. To get a 100-inch screen or a 120-inch screen, which is typical for projection, you're going to easily spend 5 figures on a flat panel. Easily.
You know, I don't know if you saw it, but Samsung, when they announced the Note 8 a couple of weeks ago, had the most amazing stage I've ever seen. It was, imagine, if you will, a box with 3 sides. They didn't have a top, but they had the 2 backs and then the bottom. And it was a giant, normally a stage, they don't have a whole lot of space on the floor, but this was giant because they were using, I thought at first, a projection system, but in fact, the floor was, and Samsung makes these screens so they can afford this, many screens, and it all blended together to form one giant screen. So it looked like there was a little tiny person inside a giant box.
Wow, that's great. They undoubtedly used their cinema screen technology. I don't know that, but I'm going to guess.
I'm sure they did.
Which is basically what I just mentioned, a big, giant array of little tiny micro LEDs, red, green, and blue, and they form this image. There's already a movie theater in Seoul, Korea that has this kind of screen in it instead of a projector.
Wow.
And that is the future of cinema, but it's some years down the line. Those things are, at the moment, super expensive.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be in any home theater anytime soon. But once it is, then we're talking about the death of projection. But that's years down the line.
Well, and we've seen these kind of amazing projectors in use in concerts.
Yes,
some of the best concerts. But I'd never seen anything like this giant. God, it's hard to describe. If you get a chance, there's still video available online of the Galaxy Note 8 reveal, and it was dramatic. This floor is black until they decide to use it, and all of a sudden it looks like there's a little tiny person on a giant, like in a waterfall or something. It's truly remarkable.
This technology is really amazing. There's no doubt about it. And as soon as I've not even seen it yet, and they say they're going to put one in LA someplace to show industry people. Right?
Yeah, I don't know how it looked in person, but boy, it was a dramatic thing to watch on TV. And I can see maybe in the future the Oscars and other television shows using this kind of technology to. It's surreal, really.
It really is. It really is.
Yeah.
But for the moment, projection is still where it's at. If you want a really big picture, if you want that truly cinematic experience, it's a little more complicated than a flat panel. There's no doubt about that. But with the Epsons in particular and the lower cost JVCs. You're going to get a beautiful, beautiful picture and nothing at all to complain about as far as I'm concerned.
If you want great home theater information, you're going to go to Scott Wilkinson at avsforum.com. Scott, thanks for joining us. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Back to the phones we go. Oh, the board's full. Let's see. Dave in Ridgecrest, California has been holding on the longest. Hi, Dave. Thanks for your patience.
Good afternoon, Leo.
Good afternoon. What can I do for you?
Well, I just wanted to say that I'm an 86-year-old disgruntled Korean War vet.
Oh, why are you disgruntled, my friend?
Well, with what's going on over there now.
Well, I don't blame you. I wouldn't want to be there right now.
I had it done back then.
Yeah. But this isn't a political talk show, so can I help you with other stuff? Anyway, thank you for your service, by the way.
Well,
and let's hope.
I didn't do that.
Can we say this? Let's pray that no young men get sent over there again.
Yeah. Well. Anyway,
I think we could agree on that. Yep.
Yeah. I have 3 computers actually. One of them is the original one I ever bought back in 96 or 98.
Oh my! You still have a computer from 1996?
It's not running.
Oh, okay. Is it under glass?
It should be.
I hope you put it up on blocks and took the oil out, because okay.
But I have Windows running upstairs with the XP on it.
Yes, sir.
And I was on Verizon for the internet, and Verizon convinced me that I needed to install Verizon InHome Agent. And later on here in the last few years, I decided I didn't want it. It was always interfering with...
Oh, yeah, those things are terrible. I hate those.
And I tried to
uninstall it, yeah.
But it didn't get everything out. And I found something on the internet that kind of instructs you how to do it.
Yeah.
But it's so darn complicated, I'm scared to do it. Do you know of any simple way to get rid of it?
Isn't that awful? So this was the InHome Agent. Did you have Fios internet, or what did you have?
No, I had DSL.
DSL. Yeah. So the reason they did that in the DSL days was the InHome Agent was dialed in effect dialed the phone number for DSL. It handled the connection, and this was because DSL was kind of transitional from dial-up. And so initially, in the early days of DSL, they had this kind of funky system where you'd log in and all of that. The agent was unnecessary even then. And the problem is when you get companies that aren't tech companies writing software, often it's the worst software ever. So, I'm not surprised that the InHome Agent didn't remove itself fully. It's certainly using up bandwidth and cycles. It's causing unreliability issues. But probably this removal system, did it involve going in the registry and going to different folders and deleting stuff?
I think so.
Yeah. Jeez Louise. It would be nice if somebody, let's say maybe Verizon, would have written a removal tool, because, you should be able to remove it. It does have an uninstaller, I believe, but you probably already ran that. If you went to, the program.
Yeah, I don't know what I ran. Whatever was on the XP add and remove hardware software.
Yeah, that's basically the way those work. The add and remove software control panel works is it calls the installer that was used to originally install the software with a request to uninstall it. And Verizon's tool does do that, but it doesn't do it perfectly.
Yeah.
There is I don't know, maybe the chat room has some experience with this. There's a company called Should I Remove It? And their website is shouldiremove.com, and they claim their Should I Remove It tool which you can download, probably have to buy. No, it's free. They say it's free. They say that it will remove it automatically.
Okay.
So I don't have any experience with this.
Yeah.
But if you're nervous about the steps, the registry messages and the deleting in certain folders, and it does look like this spews stuff all over the place. It has many libraries, many executables. What a piece of junk. The problem is always the risk, if you remove some of this, that it will break something else.
Right.
But has anybody in the chat room used Should I Remove It? Because that sounds like it says 77 million programs uninstalled. There's another company called Revo Uninstaller that maybe does a better job. RevoUninstaller.com. It's got a free download as well. I'll tell you what I will do for you. We'll put a link to both of these tools at our website, Dave, techguylabs.com, and you can take a look at the sites and see which one you feel comfortable using. Logan 5 in the chat room says he used Should I Remove It, and it worked well. So I think it's probably safe to try, and that would be a lot easier and maybe even less prone to problems. It's a freeware utility, which, that's good. And they say they use crowdsourced data to work. So that sounds good, as long as it doesn't damage your boot, right, and all of that stuff. But try it. I can understand why you want to get rid of this thing, and shame on Verizon, but they're not the only one. Almost every DSL company in the early days of DSL offered some sort of software that was just a terrible, terrible, horrible program.
So okay, I'll try those two and see what.
Great, Dave.
And see what I
So nice to have you listening. I appreciate it.
And I got 2 other questions real quick.
All right, I got a little time. Go ahead.
Does Johnny Jet really talk that fast?
I do not speed him up. Now, actually, Dave, I should mention, you're listening probably to the great KFI, right?
Right.
Our wonderful station. Every once in a while, I believe, I've heard reports, KFI speeds things up a little bit.
Yeah. Something.
So if it sounds abnormally fast,
yeah,
that may be that they're speeding that one up. So I don't know why they do that. Maybe get another ad in.
This morning you did sound a little...
If I sound a little bit like a chipmunk and I'm talking a little faster than I normally talk, that's probably what they're doing.
Okay.
Yeah. If that bugs you, and I love KFI, and God knows if it weren't for KFI, there would be no tech guy.
I'll tell you one thing. I don't listen to them through iHeart. I found them somewhere else.
Okay, you can listen to them, but I should also tell you we offer podcasts of this show that are, I promise you, not sped up.
Yeah.
If we still sound sped up, that's just because we talk fast.
Yeah.
But if you go to twit.tv, that's our website, or actually go to techguylabs.com, the radio.
I've done it a couple.
Yeah, those podcasts there, and you can even listen live there. Those are not those are not sped up. What you should do is listen to both and see. I had a friend write to me say, "You sound different on the podcast than you do on the radio."
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, that's why."
Yeah. The other question is, do you have an inventory of how many toys you have?
Dave, I don't want to know. I do kind of know the number. Because I have a budget. My wife lets me spend. It's for business.
Yeah.
About $20,000 a year on tech stuff. Mostly it's phones these days.
Yeah.
Computers, that kind of stuff. And you've heard me talk about this before. I could get stuff for free from companies, but in my opinion, and most publications and reviewers do, but in my opinion, that even if you say no, I'm very independent, it just gives the slightest bit of debt to those companies that I don't want to have. I want to be just like you, a guy who buys stuff and likes it or doesn't like it purely on my experience with it. So but that costs me a little money, but you know. I make enough, thank goodness I can do it.
That's the other thing I have a problem with. It costs too much.
Everything costs too much these days.
Yeah.
Hey, Dave, great to talk to you. I appreciate it. Thank you for calling. Thank you for your service. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. We'll be back with more of the Tech Guy in just a bit. Our show today brought to you by the coolest thing ever. As you know, I'm on vacation as we speak. And, of course, the first thing I do before I get on a plane is I make sure I've got texture on my iPad. Actually, I don't have to do much anymore because I have texture on everything. My iPad, my iPhone, my Android devices. Texture is like Netflix for magazines. You pay one low, flat monthly rate, and you get 200 plus of the best magazines. I mean, almost all the great magazines are on texture. All the magazines, in fact, I don't even really know what's not on texture because everything I want to read is. What's nice is it auto-downloads your magazines. So if, you can go through them and say, oh, I'd like to, add additional ones. But there's a ton of stuff on here. I really love texture, and I think you're going to love it too. I want you to go to texture.com/twit for a free trial. Let me show you a little bit. It's kind of what your iPad was made for. Apple agrees, one of the top iPad apps for 2016. So there's curated section, new and noteworthy. These are magazines you may or may not read on a regular basis, which is, great because you discover new stuff. Prevention, Shape, New York Magazine, Men's Journal, Consumer Reports, Time, W, Midwest Living. You see, but the greatest Midwest food towns. Oh, see, that sounds good. Harper's Bazaar, Kate Moss and the Shoot That Changed Your Life, CNET, Parents. These are all magazines. Now, you're going to get every page of this magazine. The newsstand, current newsstand edition, plus back issues, plus features you can't get on the newsstand. Like video, Vogue, Newsweek. There's daily news. There's weekend reads. George Clooney on what Obama texts him in his life with twins. That's from The Hollywood Reporter. You're not going to subscribe to The Hollywood Reporter. First of all, it's going to cost more than a texture subscription. And how often you're going to read it. But I love the idea that these magazines, these kind of offbeat magazines, trade magazines, are also available. For me, Billboard, Ad Age, Hollywood Reporter, Variety. It's great to be able to read that. And then there's, of course, my always must-read, The New Yorker. I read it all the time. Well, you can see it has a bunch of unread badges. But this is nice because this is downloaded. This is on my iPad. I can read this anytime I want. And what's great about it is you get every bit of every magazine. You can, including the ads, yes, of course, scroll through it. The table of contents, though, is live. So if you say, oh, I want to read that, you can go right to that article. It's so easy to read on the iPad. And, of course, it has the iPad's features. So you want the text bigger, you can do that. You want to take a closer look at one of the illustrations, you can do that, too. It is the best way to read magazines. More than 200 of the best magazines. You'll never run out of things to read, and before you travel, having texture on your device is a blessing. You can put it on up to 5 devices, so that means you can share it with family as well. Texture's offering you a 14-day free trial right now if you go to texture.com/twit. Top stories in science and tech. Newsweek, Consumer Reports, Popular Mechanics, Bloomberg Businessweek, Wired, National Geographic. One more thing I love about Texture. Images look better on your iPad, on your tablet, on your phone than they do in the print. So if you love photography, it's the best way to see photography as it really, really exists. Texture.com/twit. Try it free right now. Look at this. You can pixel peep. Do that. Try doing that in a magazine. You're not going to get the good images. I just love this. I really do. What a great way to read National Geographic, right? Texture.com/twit. And look at the detail. I mean, it's fabulous. Hey. How are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy, talking about computers and the internet and home theater and digital photography and smartphones, iPhones, and Apple Watches, and augmented reality. That's a big topic these days. 8888 Ask Leo, that's the number. Let's go right to the phones. I got a bunch of calls here, and we'll start with Sylvia in Lake Forest, California. Hi, Sylvia. Thanks for hanging on. Leo Laporte.
Hi, Leo. Long-time listener, very long-time listener, first-time caller.
Bless you. Thank you.
Thank you for taking my call. I wanted to know, I've been on computers and had laptops and desktops since, early 90s. And I am trying to figure out now, I'm kind of not as knowledgeable as I used to be as far as what's the best for what my uses will be.
Right.
And I'm debating on whether I should go with a desktop or a laptop, because I already have a small laptop that I can take with me places.
What do you do? What do you do with your computer? What is your purpose for having one?
Yeah, so actually I have about, I don't want to say 40 plus years of family videos, and I do photography as well. And I need something, and I do a lot of Word Microsoft Word, Excel, and all those programs. And I need either a desktop or laptop with the better processor or, video card, as opposed to something for just surfing the web.
Yeah,
so
I got it.
Thought you might be able to help me.
Video editing. So people get laptops because they're convenient. You can use them anywhere in the house. You can take them with you. I don't think they're ideal for editing video. I feel like if you edit video on a laptop, you're kind of making do. I would, I would prefer to have a big screen. In fact, preferably 2 big screens for video editing, one for the output, one for the controls.
Okay.
The more real estate, the easier it is to edit. Truth is, the more real estate, the easier it is to work at anything. We have a browser open and your Word document open. Big screen real estate is the latest thing. And even nowadays, a single screen but extra large can make a difference. There are a lot of new screens coming out that are kind of super wide. They're slightly curved, and they're great for video editing because you have a lot of real estate. It makes you more productive. Okay. So, and also because with a desktop computer, you can have better processors. You don't have to worry about battery, so you have more space to put in more stuff, better video cards. You don't have to worry about how much cooling and power a video card's using. So in general, a desktop for professional stuff, for heavy-duty stuff.
That's what I'm looking at.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's what I've kind of just pretty much decided. So I guess my main thing was, what do you like out there for? Oh, I like Adobe. I know I'm going to have to go to the new Adobe.
You're going to get Creative Cloud. Yeah, you use Premiere. Is that what you use?
Yeah. I'm going to need to go. But my laptop now is just about ready to, at the time when I bought it, it was, top notch. But
well, and a lot of people who have desktops end up getting a laptop as well, or at least some sort of portable computing for those times when they want to do that.
Sure. But I think a desktop is what I would be looking for now because of the kind of work I'll be doing on it. I don't need to take it anywhere. I can do the work at home. I have a whole area set up with, my desk and stuff. So, and I've like you, I have I've got on my current one, 2 25-inch screens that I use for, work.
So there you go. You understand. You get it. I don't have to sell you on that. 25 is a little small. I'd like to see 227s or
27. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And you should look at these new 34-inch super wide single screens because then there's no bezel. But it's like having two screens side by side, and they're not expensive. Dell makes them. A lot of companies, LG, a lot of companies make these. We have a Dell at home that we love. The other thing that there are a few other things to think about. You want a lot of RAM. You probably already know that. But more memory speeds up a lot of the processes photographers with Photoshop and video editors with Premiere use. You'll really benefit from a lot of extra memory. So I'd say minimum 16 gigs, and you'd be better off with 24 or 32. I'd say let's shoot for 32. That's a lot of RAM. And by the way, most laptops, you can't get that high.
Correct.
So that's another argument for a desktop. Now, there's an interesting question of which is more important, the CPU, the Intel chip, or the GPU, the NVIDIA or AMD ATI chip in there, the Radeon. Right. And with both Photoshop and Premiere, they use a combination of both. In most cases, you will only use 2 cores at a time of the CPU. So you don't need to go crazy with a 16-core CPU. I think that's overkill.
Okay.
But in other words, you don't need a Xeon. You'd probably be just fine with an i5 or an i7. I don't generally recommend i7s in laptop situations because they're thermally constrained. They can't run at full speed. They're just too hot. But on a desktop, you can. So probably you're going to look at an i7. That will be probably a quad core with 8 threads. That's more than enough for anything you're going to be doing.
Okay.
And then you might want to get a GPU. Not every function, but some of the functions of Lightroom, Photoshop, and Premiere will use the GPU. I think chiefly for things like Gaussian blurs and transcoding, the GPU can come in handy.
Okay. Now, I've actually built a couple of those many years ago, but nowadays I would be more to look at purchasing them. And
don't build it. There's no advantage to building it, and there's many disadvantages. You don't save money. The only advantage is you get exactly what you want, and nowadays you can spec most computers out directly with Dell or HP or Lenovo. And you know a little bit about how it was put together. The disadvantage is who you're going to call if you have a problem. If you built it yourself, you are the one you call. That's not maybe the best, right? So I would say certainly I would look at Dell. They're uninspiring, but they work quite well. Don't turn your back on gaming machines. There are some very powerful gaming machines out there. I just bought an Asus ROG for my son that was under $2,000. That is very high end in terms of processor, GPU, RAM. You definitely want SSD hard drives. That makes a huge difference. But because you're working with huge files, you're probably looking at a desktop that boots from and runs the programs from a solid state drive.
Correct.
128 to 256 gigs, but then has access to a larger spinning drive, terabytes worth, because your video files, you've got lots of work files, work parts, and those take up a lot of space. I would look for a computer that has Thunderbolt 3 connectors, because then you can have an external drive that's just as fast.
Okay. And
that is very handy, for your work.
All right.
So I think between all of that, you're looking, at a probably $2,000 computer at the minimum.
Okay.
But as I said, I was able to get a GTX 1080 with a i7. And I think I got him 32 gigs of RAM, SSD, and a terabyte spinning drive for under $2,000 from Asus. So Asus makes some really nice desktop stuff.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
I'm very happy with that.
I want to let you know I started listening to the first day you were on KFI.
2004.
or whenever Jeff Levy or somebody else.
Yeah, Jeff Levy, the late
I listened to your
Jeff
first
Levy.
show.
Yeah.
And I've been listening ever since.
Oh, bless you. Bless you. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. It's been
amazing,
a long strange trip, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Hey, it's very nice to talk to you. Let me know what you get and how you like it, Sylvia. I will sure do that. We just kind of blew the budget, I know, but you won't be buying another one for 4 or 5, maybe 10 years. I mean, this is going to really be very high end.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's a good some really wonderful projects I'm doing, and I do photography. I've done a little bit of professional, mostly just for fun and family, and I've got about 40 years of videos from my parents down to my kids, my daughter, and her family. So.
Get a good screen. Don't cheap out on the screen. In fact, if it's getting less hard drive or less RAM in order to get a better screen, your photography, you need the most accurate screen you can get. So you're going to be spending some money on that. If you can, get one that supports the DCI P3 standard. That's for video. Or Adobe sRGB standard for photos. That's going to be the most accurate color rendition. And you want that because you want to know what you're going to get when you print it or you send it out. Enjoy your new PC. You love spending people's money. Thank you, Sylvia. More of your calls still to come. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Back to the phones we go. On the line right now, all the way from Minnesota. I'm sorry, Greg. I should never do that. Greg, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Greg.
How you doing, Leo?
I'm good. See, you don't talk like that. That's that's a stereotype.
I guess so.
Yeah. What can I do for you?
I have an unusual problem. I have a couple disabilities, and right now I'm still locked into using the old brick phones, with the touch keypads.
Yeah.
And part of the reason is that I can't lift the phone quick enough. And the other thing is my skin is not real conductive to the...
Oh, wow. Yeah, because these screens, these touch screens require conductance, and it's by moisture. So if your skin is too dry, or if you wear gloves, for instance, it wouldn't work, yeah.
Yeah, well, I use the wheelchair, and I have a lot of calluses from the years and years I've been here.
Interesting. So you can't use a touch screen?
Well, not very well. Not very well.
Interesting.
Okay, I had to tap on it, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, I still use the good old-fashioned phone. I have a Kyocera KX440, for instance, and there's a lot of distinction between the keys. And I always keep going back to Verizon and the other companies, trying to see if they have something with raised keys that my fingers can hear the difference. Because I can't raise the phone real quick to see who's calling or something, so I'll either kick in the first couple letters of the number I want to call. But more often you have a prompt after you get a call. Hit 1 to... So you would know, you'd be able to easily feel the 1 key on a keypad. Well, yeah, but sometimes you have to hit the 2 key and some of those things. But you could find it, yeah. Yeah, but they're very flat. So I was just wondering if there was something that would either attach to or by Bluetooth would drive a smartphone, because... pretty soon you aren't going to be able to have this old bandwidth. Yeah, you're right. Spin around with. So all smartphones that I know of support standard Bluetooth keyboards. You pair them by a Bluetooth, and then that keyboard, and you can use any keyboard that supports Bluetooth, will work with that phone. Yeah, I was kind of looking for something about the same size as the current phones, because I can just put it in my pocket, put it beside me, or something like that. Yeah. So I can visualize taking the guts out of an old phone and then just figuring out some way to put new electronics in it that sent a signal over Bluetooth. That's an imagination I have. There are a great many Bluetooth keyboards designed for, almost exactly this application. I'm looking at one, the AERB wireless keyboard. It's $11.99. Comes in 4 colors. It has a trackpad, so you might be able to even use that. But of course, it has a full keyboard. It's small. Nobody would want to type on that voluntarily. But that's exactly what you need, is a small keyboard. It's a little bit. It's about the size. It looks like, and it's about the size of a game controller. What did you say the model number was? It's AERB. I'm looking at it on Amazon. It's
It's looks like it's just a Bluetooth keyboard. There's a lot of companies make these. If you search for mini keyboard on Amazon, you'll find a whole bunch of stuff that'll do this.
Okay. Well, let me take a look at that.
Yeah, and those will pair with any phone. And then what somebody's saying in the chat room, have you ever tried using one of those styluses designed for a smartphone?
Well, a lot of times I'm just grabbing the phone with one hand.
Right.
And
okay, so that's not really the problem we need to solve. But, yeah. There's Logitech makes a mini keyboard for actually this one's kind of cool because it has a slot that will hold the phone kind of like it's a little laptop, but it's tiny. $24. That's the Logitech multi-device keyboard K480. We'll put all this at the website techguylabs.com. But that's another one. Thank you to Tony in the chat room for suggesting that one.
Okay. I was just trying to figure out how to make the old phone work but drive a smartphone.
Yeah.
Because there are times when, yes, I do want a computer in my pocket.
Yeah.
Like everybody else. But, sometimes if I stopped in traffic, one hand's on the brake and the other hand is, grabbing the phone, to either make a call or more likely to dump a call.
That's neat. RII Mini I-28, that's another one. There's quite a few of these. I suspect there's some China company cranking them out, and then people buy them and slap their label on them. I would guess they're probably very similar.
Well, at least I have a good idea.
Yeah, look for Bluetooth Mini keyboard. There's a ton of them.
Okay, thanks.
Hey, my pleasure. It's nice to talk to you. Thanks for calling in. I never thought about that, but if you have really calloused fingers, does touch not work for you? How interesting. I never even thought of that. Isn't that interesting? I don't know what you would do. The way those styluses work, the capacitive touch styluses, is by conducting. It's still conducting into your fingers. So your fingers, in effect, are closing the circuit. So I don't know. I think if you had very, very, very dry hands, they still might not work. I don't know. That's a conundrum. JP is on the line from Denver, Colorado. Hello, JP.
It's JR. How you doing, boss?
I got the initial wrong. Sorry, JR.
Yeah, the trucker. I used to have the dog in the truck for
I remember you.
years.
Yeah, nice to talk to you.
Yeah, my condolences about Ozzy.
Yeah, our sad little Papillon passed on after only 10 years. He was too young.
Oh, yeah. Well, I got me a new fur baby now, too. So.
Oh, good for you. You drive with him?
Hey, listen, what would be the easiest way to set up a slideshow presentation on a Insignia TV? I can put them on an SD card or I can put them on a thumb drive, and then I can manually forward them through, I'm going to have about 100 pictures on there.
So you want to put some slideshow on the Insignia. I don't know if your Insignia does it have an SD card reader?
It has a USB plug, and then I've got the adapters.
Okay, it just depends. It depends how the TV. It depends how the TV's configured. Many TVs I know do have USB slots or SD card slots that the point of which is you could put a folder of pictures in there and it'll do a slideshow. But that really is, whether the software of the TV does it. And I just don't know on that Insignia whether it does. That's the Best Buy house brand.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe there's some sort of an app or a software where I could put the photographs of that and then adjust the timing, and then maybe put some music on it.
Yeah, but the issue is what the TV will do with it. If you have a slideshow on your computer and you have a way of getting it to the TV, and there are lots of ways to do that with an Apple TV and an Apple computer. You can use AirPlay with a Windows machine and a TV that supports Miracast or DLNA. You can do it that way.
Yeah.
John says, our studio manager says, if you make a movie, sometimes on these USB TVs or the SD card TVs, if they see, does it have to be an MP4, John? If they see a movie or a .mov or maybe an AVI, depends on the TV. Again, you got to look at the TV's capabilities. But if it can handle a movie format, you could make the slideshow into a movie on your computer, put the movie on the card, and then stick that in the TV.
That sounds like a good idea.
See, good idea. But you got to investigate the capabilities of the TV. That's the thing I'm not familiar with. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. More of your calls coming up right after this. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. You know, it wouldn't be a Saturday without Johnny Jet. A visit from our travel guru. Johnny is one of the top 10 travel influencers in the world, according to Forbes magazine. He has a great website, johnnyjet.com, with a free newsletter and travel information. He also is a prolific Twitterer, and he joins us every week. Are we lucky or what? Hi, John.
I'm the one that's lucky. Hello.
Hello. Well, before you started doing this show, were you not famous?
No, you were famous in my own eyes.
You were famous on day. But you were famous on day one, the day you were born. Because many people don't know this, but he's the world. But you will when you recognize when I tell you the name. He's the world famous Johnny Jet Ski.
That's right. But when I got into the travel industry, I dropped the ski because I'm not Polish, so
Johnny Jet Ski.
Just Johnny Jet.
Hello, Johnny Jet Ski.
Yeah.
So every week, Johnny joins us with a website and an app to help us travel better with technology. See, they get the technology in there. It's okay. What do you got for us this week?
So a few weeks ago, we talked about some cool places to find good food.
Oh, man, I tell you what, travel for me is about two things: eating and photography.
Yep. Well, when you come back from a trip, what's the first kind of food that you have in America?
Hamburger, of course.
Okay, well, I go get tacos.
Tacos? That would be another good one?
That's my thing. I mean, I live in Southern California, so...
No, and you cannot get good Mexican food. Well, I guess Mexico probably has good Mexican food, but the rest of the world, you cannot get good Mexican food. Actually, Mexican food in Mexico isn't like Mexican food in California. It's Mexican food. I like Californian Mexican food.
I do too.
Yeah.
So here's an app that you need to download if you like tacos. You ready?
There's a taco app?
It's called the Free Taco Locator. It's a taco locator, not free. It is free, but it's only on iOS. Right now, they're going to go on...
Because Android people don't eat tacos. We know that. Taco Locator.
Yes. So it's a real basic app, but it has a little arrow. You click on it, and it will show you the closest tacos to you, and it has the ratings, it has reviews, it has all the pertinent information that you need.
Like the silliest app I've ever heard of.
I know, but I love it. And it has the times, the hours operation, the price range, how you can pay.
So if you get a taco craving, this is just right for you.
And they also show pictures. So if you just need it, you can just you want to get hungry, you just look at their photos. Oh. And they have that just for that.
All right, I'm going to test it because, of course, here in Northern California, we think that we have the best tacos. Southern California has way better. Think. And actually, if you go to...
There's nothing to compare.
If you go to New Mexico, they'll say, oh, no. Or Texas, they'll say, oh, no.
Tex-Mex.
All right, I'm going to allow Taco Locator to access my phone's location. I'm going to press the button. This is great. They have a big button that says "Find Me Tacos."
Yeah, one thing I like about this app, it's so simple, and the font is nice and large.
El Gallo Taqueria, 0.2 miles away. Chunky's Taqueria and Grill. Rubio's Coastal Grill. Don Pancho's. Mi Pueblo, that's where we go. I wonder, see, it doesn't have the taco trucks.
Ah, well, that's a flaw.
Because Elroy's Taco Truck is easily the best taco in Petaluma. So there.
Okay,
but they do get points for not having Taco Bell on here.
Well, who the heck's going to have Taco Bell?
That is not the best taco anywhere. Although once you get a taste for Taco Bell, it's what it is. It's not bad. Especially if it's late at night and you've been drinking.
My old roommate used to do the marketing. He came up with a dog, Yo Quiero Taco Bell.
What? The Chihuahua? That's your old roommate? Wow.
Yeah, 15, 20 years ago.
Wow. My old towel boy
is the dog at our house.
My old towel boy is the voice of the Taco Bell dog.
Oh my gosh.
The guy at the gym, Carlos Azraki, and it was an annoying towel boy because you go to the gym and you get a towel, and he was always doing bits. I said, you should be a comic. Get out of my hair. And he ended up being a comic and making $1 million saying, Yo quiero Taco Bell. That was it.
That's awesome.
Good job, Carlos. I'll take my towel now.
That's right. So I got a website for you.
Yes.
So go into Google, type in Google's "This is Home."
This is home.
Have you heard of this? They use Google Earth.
Go to Google.
But it's one of the best things about traveling is learning how locals live.
Is it going to show me my home?
No, it's not going to show your home. It's going to show you other people's homes. There are 6 different continents.
Wait a minute, I'm doing this wrong because I got a music video called "This Is Home." What do I do again? Say it.
Go into Google and type in Google. This is home. You got to type in the word Google.
Oh, you have to say Google. This is home.
Yeah.
That's somewhat redundant. I'm already at Google. Google. This is home. So you. Oh, it's Google Earth.
It's Google Earth. But what they do is they have 53 homes that they've on 6 different continents, and they're continuing to grow. But they give you a 360-degree.
You can see in other people's houses.
Zoom in exactly how they live. You can zoom in, see the products that they're cooking with. You can go.
But this isn't just like movie stars and rich people. This is like normal people's houses.
There's no rich people in here, or there's no movie stars. This is just some of them like a yurt in Mongolia.
Oh, neat.
And you can zoom in and you can see the. You have to be in Chrome, by the way, because I don't think it works unless it's on Chrome.
Google Earth. This is home, and you know when we travel, that's part of the thing of travel, right? Is seeing how other people live.
Yes.
If you do it right, you're not going to just see the insides of hotels and beaches. You're going to see how people live around the world. Or you can just go to Google Earth and see all the different places. They just added 22 homes and cultures from Greecelandic Ilok. Greecelandic. That's what it says. Greecelandic.
Okay, that
Greenlandic, not Greeceland.
There's a country I've never been to. Greecelandic.
I've been to Greeceland. An Inuit igloo, a Bedouin tent, a reed house, and a Sherpa home. Neato.
And it gives you a full-on tour, 360 degrees.
I love Google Earth. I think this is the bestest thing ever. I love it.
I mean, it's really amazing to play around with.
It doesn't. It sounds like this. Does it do it on the desktop? It sounds like it's an app.
Yeah. No, it does it on the desktop.
Does it on the desktop too? Okay.
Yeah.
Or you could go
zoom
to Google
and go to check out the people's ovens, and you can really see what the ingredients they use and things like that.
I love that.
You need to download it. But if we have time, I got a couple tips for you.
Oh yeah, sure. Go right ahead. I love it. You can do more.
So when you're traveling, and I know that you like to fly business class or first class, because who wants to sit in the back? And if you do, don't throw away these amenity kits.
That's exactly what I say. Who wants to sit in back? I'll sit in front. And then the people in the back say, "Yeah, good. You're going to hit the mountain first."
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they give you amenity packs which contain small, like a toothbrush, the world's tiniest tube of toothpaste. And
earplugs, eye masks,
and for some reason socks. What's the socks? Would you explain that to me?
Because some people go into the bathroom with bare feet.
Oh,
you never do that. So
Wear
they're trying to tell you not to do that, or if your feet get cold.
And they have little rubber grippies on the socks, so you can walk in them.
But my point is, some of the ones that they give you on airlines are really nice. Like Lufthansa gives you a Remova, and you can sell them on eBay for $100.
What?
Yes, but
what? What idiot would pay $100 for an amenities kit?
There's tons of people out there that will do it. One of my buddies was just over it, and he's one of them.
I throw them out. I leave them on the plane.
Do not throw them out. So that's my point. So you always bring it with you, and then I have a whole box right over here with them.
What?
And then I bring them to the women's shelter.
Oh, see, that's different. You're a good person.
Tip. This is my tip.
That's a great idea, because they can wear the socks. Women's shelter. Yes.
Well, they can use everything, because a lot of times they're scrambling to get out of their house for whatever reason.
Whenever we go to a hotel, we take the little soaps and the little amenities, we put them in our bag, and we bring them over to our shelter over here. And they love them because they don't want a full bar of soap. They somebody's just staying there the night. They want a little thing. Yeah.
That's another thing. I have a whole bag of toiletries that I do the same thing. So you bring them. Yep. If you don't have a women's shelter,
the hotels don't mind that, right? They're not going to reuse those when you check out.
They're not going to reuse them. No.
Yeah, because they don't know. You might have spit in it and sealed it back up.
Right.
I have a very rich imagination. Johnny Jet. You'll find him at johnnyjet.com. I need a vacation, Johnny. Or next week I'll be gone. Or go to the Twitter, Johnny Jet on the Twitter. Thank you, Johnny. Safe travels.
Thank you. Take care.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I am Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Eric is on the line from Hutchinson, Kansas. Hi, Eric.
Hey, Leo.
How are you today?
I want to bug you one more time. I called you last week.
You know, I don't get many calls from Hutchinson, Kansas, so I figured it was you again.
Okay. I'm getting ready to move, and I'm getting a new job.
Good for you. Congratulations. That's great.
So what I want to know is Drobo, a sponsor, I know it is, and or has been in the past, versus Synology.
Oh, you're opening up a kettle of fish there.
Well, what I want to do, I want to have everything ride on one thing that's RAID, so that you can swap the drives out.
Yep.
I'm not.
I'll tell you. I can simplify it for you. It depends on your needs, obviously. And I use both Drobo and Synology. In both cases, these are large enclosures. They support multiple drives. They support what's called data redundancy. In other words, the data is spread out over the multiple drives in such a way that if one of the drives, in some cases two of the drives, fail, you don't lose anything. You can rebuild they call it RAID, the RAID array, and everything's good. So they're great for two reasons. One, they're very robust. They protect you against most kinds of data loss. And two, because you have many drives in these enclosures, anywhere from 2 to 20, they can look like to your computer a gigantic drive. I have a Synology network attached storage that looks like a 9 terabyte drive on my network, and I have a Drobo Mini that looks like, I think, a 5 or 6 terabyte drive because it's got 4 SSDs in it. In my opinion, Drobo, and you're right, they're a sponsor. And let me tell you why we always say that. I don't want there to be any misimpression that, because somebody's a sponsor, you find out later, oh, Leo is talking about Drobo and Synology, but Drobo's a sponsor, so obviously he's going to favor Drobo. I want you to know up front. So we have a policy every time I mention a product that's a sponsor. Many tech products do advertise on the shows that I tell you that ahead of time. But I should also say I endeavor at every point to be completely objective. And I use both products. Synology is not a sponsor, but I love Synology, as you know. In my opinion, Drobo's at its best as a connected USB drive. Think of it as a it could be USB, it could be, there's a variety of ways to iSCSI, it could be Ethernet, but think of it as a very large, very fast drive that you connect up to your computer, for whether it's for backup or just extra storage. That's how I use the Drobo in my house. Drobo does make a network drive, and it has its basic network attached storage, but for network attached storage, my preference is Synology. That's different. You don't use Synology as a giant USB drive. You use it because it is, in effect, a computer with mass storage on your network. So those are two different uses. How do you want to use this?
Well, I want to be able to stream music to my own music that I've ripped.
Yep.
And I want to be able to stream it to any device that's in the house. And I don't know what Cox Internet has as their policy on. So
streaming locally is a ability that typically is part of a NAS, not a big USB drive. Now, I should say, Drobo does have NAS solutions, and they're very good. And in terms of performance, I would say they're very similar. Drobo has put faster processors in their new Drobos and their network attached storages. So I think that's kind of sick for something like that. Streaming music. The way you would do it, of course, is that the network attached device would have on it software that's running a server, whether it's the iTunes server, the Windows Media server. There are a variety of different, audio servers. You got video servers too. Plex is probably the best of the bunch. Both Synology and Drobo support Plex. So you'd put a Plex server on that device, connect it to the network, and then using Plex client software on anything else. And by the way, Roku supports it. Everything pretty much supports Plex. You could then stream audio and video to your computers or tablets or any of your devices in your house. So for that, Drobo or Synology would be just fine. It's when you get to more advanced things, when you want to run a server, for instance. I use Synology to replace Evernote. It's my notes keeping capability that's available on phone, over the internet, everywhere. And I like to keep those notes off the public internet on my private server. It's a private cloud. For a private cloud, that's a different thing. I think maybe Synology is a better choice. But just for
that might be a good idea.
Well, that's what I do. I use it for photos, for music, for backup, for note taking. All of that I use it as a private cloud, and I like that.
What's the base unit? Can you just buy a base unit?
Well, the problem is both of these solutions end up being expensive because you first get the enclosure, which is going to be hundreds of dollars, and then you have to put drives in it. One advantage the Drobo has is it's designed to handle mutts. You probably have, almost everybody nowadays has drives just lying around the house, old drives you don't use anymore. And Drobo's really particularly designed just to take those drives, any assortment, and build a RAID array out of them. They're really designed for that. The Synology, if you're going to do a Synology, I'd go out and get Western Digital Red drives that are designed for network attached storage, and you don't have to have match in size, but you kind of want, to get drives specifically for those. So ultimately, I think Synology is going to cost you a little bit more.
Okay.
But Synology, I'll put a link to a recent review. I haven't tried the newest Drobo NAS stuff, and I hear very good things about it. I'll put a review from David Gewirtz, who is very good. He reviewed both the Drobos and the Synologies. He calls it the battle of the desktop NAS devices on ZDNet in February. I'll put a link to that in the show notes. And he gives you the pros and cons on each. Always have thought of Drobo more as a USB drive. They're getting better on connectivity. I think in the long run, if what you're looking is for as a NAS, I would agree with David's conclusions that while the Synology is going to cost more, it's probably a better long-term solution. I'm a big fan, but I use both in my my setups.
All right, shout out to Patrick Norton. Love him.
Yeah, you should ask Patrick. He hosts our This Week in Computer Hardware show, has his own show called Tech Thing. He's my old co-host from the Screensavers days, and he's a hardware guy. He knows his stuff. I wonder what Patrick would vote for.
I know, but he doesn't have a radio show like you.
Well, I'll ask him. I'll tell you what. Next time I see Patrick, I will say, I have the Synology 1515 Plus. That's expensive because it's 5 units and it has a faster processor. And both the Synology and the Drobo, you can add a little M card, a little memory card, that NVMe card that speeds things up, an M.2 card. Those add to the cost. I mean, you can get expensive. If price is an issue, somebody in the chat room was pointing this out, and that's true, you could build your own. There's a very good network attached storage operating system based on Linux called FreeNAS, FREENAS. You can download that, put that on some old computer, find some old PC tower that lets you have 4 or 5 drives, and you could probably do, for a lot less, something similar. I happen to like the kind of ready-to-play solutions from both Synology and Drobo. So Drobo makes a fantastic, massive connected storage solution. That's my preferred use for it. And for network-attached storage, I go all the way with Synology. I resisted Synology for the longest time, but I have to say I really like it. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Let's take a break. More of your calls to come. More of the Tech Guy coming up in just a bit, but first a word from our sponsor, Qualcomm. You know the name Qualcomm. You got Qualcomm in every Android phone. Qualcomm's new Snapdragon Gigabit LTE chip is a huge breakthrough, bringing high speed, better than home Wi-Fi speed to your smartphone. Download what you want, when you want, at maximum speed. don't buy a phone unless you've got Snapdragon Gigabit LTE in it. My new Note 8, it's got it in there. My S8, it's got it in there. Many other phones do too, but make sure you check. In fact, you can go to the website and see which phones support it. Snapdragon.com/gigabit. What do you get? 4x4 MIMO in an LTE radio. That means there are multiple lanes for your data to flow on. It even does carrier bonding, so it can open multiple channels to that cell tower, really maximizing your throughput up to 7 times faster than typical home Wi-Fi. I'm not even comparing it to other phones, to your home Wi-Fi. It's nowadays with, progressive app loading and video and all the stuff we're using on our smartphones, you want all that speed. And a phone equipped with Snapdragon Gigabit LTE from Qualcomm is as fast as it can be. Snapdragon Gigabit LTE technology uses the network more efficiently, too, so the carriers love it. There's plenty of room on the network for others to take advantage of their data plans. If you have unlimited data, you better have a phone with a Snapdragon Gigabit LTE radio. Make the most of your unlimited data plan to learn more about epic download speeds for all your apps. And I think because, I don't have time to talk about what 256 QAM is versus 64 QAM, things like that. All of that's laid out on the page there. Snapdragon.com/gigabit. And I am thrilled to have Qualcomm, one of the best companies in technology, as a sponsor for our Tech Guy show. It's nice to have you. Thank you, Qualcomm. Qualcomm Snapdragon Gigabit LTE makes it possible to give you the Tech Guy podcast each week for free. Now back to the show. I am Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy, and we get right back to the phones. On the line right now from Fullerton, California, Wally. Hi, Wally.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for taking my call. I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I recently, bought Tesla.
Congratulations. How do you like it?
It's a great car. It's a Model X, but unfortunately, Elon Musk has done a biggest dumb mistake in the car. There's no AM station.
Now I don't know if that's a dumb mistake or not. I was surprised to find the same thing in my Model X. I was told the reason is the electric motors in the car generate too much interference, and the AM antenna, which would have to be in the body of the car, would be...
Oh.
So now, I'm not sure I fully believe that because there are electric cars with AM radios.
Right. And there's the electric car, the Model S. That has an AM.
Does the Model S have an AM? Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, then I take it all back. I was just making myself feel better, obviously, because they could have an AM radio.
I was in San Francisco. I had a Tesla taxi, Uber car.
Yeah.
And that had an AM radio.
Well, what they've done in the Teslas, and they, I guess, hope you will do, is they do give you a free LTE SIM card, and you have free over-the-air data, and you can listen to TuneIn, which has a lot of AM stations on it. They also have you give you a free Slacker account, so you can listen to Slacker stuff.
Did you say LTE card?
Yeah, I believe it's LTE. So you get data. So when you're driving down the road, the maps are updating. That's because you have data in that car.
Right. They told me that you can download the app.
That's already, TuneIn's already built in.
But I tried to download it doesn't download.
Oh, so you don't actually have, when you go to your audio console, you don't have TuneIn as one of the choices on there?
I don't know. I tried to talk to Tesla. Nobody knows there.
I'll tell you, because I happen to have the same car. Mine's a year older. And by the way, falling apart. But I'm going to bring it in. I'm sure they'll fix it. The window's I can't close the door anymore. Anyway, but that's probably just me. I probably did something wrong.
No, I think they have upgraded the windows. There was a problem in doors and windows before model. I have 2017 model. They have,
Oh, yours is fixed.
Yes.
I have the 2016. Yours is fixed. Well, maybe they'll fix mine. Anyway, or they can just give me a new one. That's okay. I trade it in. So I hope that they haven't fixed this. But on the 2016 model, as part of the software, and you go to the media, on that big screen in the middle, one of the things you can do is choose, it says phone. That's where you choose your phone. There's also streaming. And there's also, at least on mine, TuneIn. And TuneIn is by the way, they just raised another $50 million. They're valued at $500 million. It's a company that helps radio stations stream. Now, that's the good news. The bad news is this show's not on it. Maybe it is. I think actually it is.
No, it's not. It doesn't come in. I tried to download.
Yeah, so a lot of stations, like stations from Clear Channel and CBS, may not be on it because they have their own app and they don't want to be on TuneIn. So you won't be able to get every station. But the
KNX is. I can listen to KNX on that.
Yeah, that's I think a CBS station. But the upside is you can also get stations from all over the world. You get the BBC. There's a whole lot of other stations. So maybe you can find something you like. Now I will tell you a little tip. You can't get KFI, our LA affiliate, on it, but I think you can get our podcasts on it. So you can listen to the live stream. Just search for Twit Live, and that's this show as we stream it to the stations. So you get it before the stations get it.
Uh-huh.
So I believe that does work on TuneIn. It's just that not every commercial terrestrial radio station is on TuneIn, and that has, it's contractual stuff as usual. And so that is a disadvantage. And I think, maybe it's possible. I've seen places where you can add apps. I don't know if that's approved. I'd be nervous about that because, that's kind of an important part of the car is that console.
I tried to download it on iPhone.
Oh, yeah.
On the iPhone.
Yeah, iHeartMedia, you can put iHeartRadio on your iPhone and get KFI, yeah.
Right. But as soon as I come in the car, the phone shuts off.
Well, that's not right. I listen to my iPhone all the time in my car. So that you pair it via Bluetooth, it shouldn't shut off, and I am able to, and that's, by the way, that's the other answer is, and I'm sure that's what Elon would say is, well, you have a smartphone, don't you? You can listen to anything in the world on your smartphone and just put it through the Bluetooth speakers and it's fine.
Yeah, I think that's probably what I'll do.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm sorry.
No.
I want you to listen to this show, believe me. And I know KFI would like you to, too.
That's one of the reasons I don't drive the car.
Oh, no, that's a bad reason not to drive your car. Drive your car, my friend. Well, who drives it if you don't drive it?
My wife drives.
All right. So somebody's getting to drive it. Do you like it?
It's a great car. It's a beautiful pickup, and, it's a good car, very nice car.
Beautiful pickup's one way to put it. I actually had to stop using the insane mode because I'm afraid I'm going to black out. It pins your head back, and I start to feel woozy. So I'm thinking maybe it's got a little too much pickup. I'm not a jet. I'm not Tom Cruise. I don't feel the need for speed.
Exactly.
You have to clench when you're driving that car.
Yeah, you can't with that speed. It goes 0 to 60 in probably 2 seconds.
It feels like it. I think it's 5, but it's fast enough. Believe me, Wally. Hey, it's nice to talk to you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for the call. I appreciate it. Yeah, so I do think that AM radios probably get some interference from those electric motors. Those things create quite a field, and they work kind of on the same frequencies that the AM radio's on. So, but if they have a really standard AM receiver in the Model S, well, then that blows that out of the wall. There is on the Tesla site, Wally, and Dr. Mom, thank you. She has a Tesla also. We'll put this in the show notes, a link to how to get TuneIn working on your Model X. It must be a concern. Woody's telling me that 5 of the 10 most popular radio stations in the U.S. are on the AM band. But if cars start coming out that don't support AM radio, that's got to be a real cause for concern. Really, that's scary. All right, let's see. I got a couple of minutes left. Let's see if we can get Joseph from Riverside, California, set with his tech. Hi, Joseph.
Hello, Leo.
How are you?
Pretty good.
Thanks for hanging on.
At work.
All right. Well, they don't need you, so let's talk.
Thank you for taking my call.
My pleasure.
Been listening to you since Tech TV days.
Yay! Screensavers, call for help.
Yep.
It's all, next May, this is scary, the 20th anniversary of Tech TV's launch.
Nice.
Yeah, nice. Well, nice for you. You must have been 4. All right, what can I do for you?
I have a tech question. I have a custom-built PC that I build myself.
Yay. Good.
Yep. Gaming PC. And every now and then, about once or twice a month, when I start the computer up, it restarts itself before loading up Windows.
It restarts itself and then works fine?
Yes, then it works fine.
It may just that's not normal, obviously, unless it's doing updates of some kind. Does it say anything like, you know how Microsoft is? My son installed, we set up his new computer with Windows 10, and of course the computer comes on and says, "Hi." And Michael said, "That's creepy." Just a moment while we get started. It really is a little creepy. I kind of understand what he's talking about. But it doesn't say that. It doesn't give you any warning. It just reboots.
Yeah, it just reboots. I have a Windows 7.
So it's possible that something is not quite right. For instance, if you have a component that doesn't work when it's cold, capacitor, maybe it's a cold solder or something that didn't quite set right, it may crash and reboot, but by that time it's warmed up and keep going.
Right.
So it's conceivable that there is something. It would probably, the fact that it restarts but then it's okay kind of is weird. Like if there were a file that's missing or broken, it wouldn't be okay. Right. So that's why I think it might be some hardware thing going on.
Yeah, because it just started recently, like 2-3 years ago.
Yeah. Now the problem is when you build your own PC, you're kind of the court of last resort. I mean, who are you going to talk to?
Yeah. Everyone calls me for stuff like this.
Yeah. I would look at your motherboard. I would look and see if there's any recalls, particularly of capacitors, and maybe contact the motherboard manufacturer and say, "I have a defect." Hope you can solve it. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I'm the tech guy. Yes, John in San Diego. Hi, John.
Hi, John.
Thank you for hanging
Leo,
on.
how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Leo? Good. Leo, thanks for taking my call. Quick question. In Gmail, in Android Gmail, you cannot have a spell check any longer. Is there a way to get that to work?
Really? That surprises me. I didn't know that. I use Inbox instead of Gmail, but I haven't noticed. Why would it? What kind of phone are you using?
Galaxy 6 S6.
Why would Google turn off spell check in Gmail?
Unless something's changed, I've Googled it and it says it no longer has spell check in Google Gmail.
Huh. Well, that's you got me. Now I'm going to turn over all the cards and give you your $5 because I have no idea. It says click the More Options button in the message toolbar. Select check spelling from the menu. Maybe it just got unchecked. Maybe it got disabled in the menu. That doesn't seem no spell check in the Android app. Oh, now wait a minute. Here's somebody on a Galaxy S6, same phone as you. That has the same. He says, "I'm running Android." Well, it's Android 6 on a Galaxy S6. Spell checking works everywhere. It stopped working in the Gmail app. Huh. You have to enable that on the Android device itself is the answer, which is go to the settings and turn on autocorrect, or turn on or turn off. Yeah, it's not built into the app, so you have to have it turned on the phone. I think that's the answer. Is make sure it's turned on in the phone because it won't. In other words, it's not getting it from the app itself. So you go to settings, language, and input. Under language, there's a spell checker, and you choose the keyboard and you turn on, for whatever keyboard you're using, turn on auto correction. All right. So I guess it's a setting. Dr. Mom says she's using Nougat Android 7 and it's working in Gmail just fine. Yeah, I think it's just a setting that got turned off. How about David on the line? I mean, this might be our, let's see, last call for this break. David in Burbank. Hi, David.
Hey, Hey, how you doing, Leo?
I'm doing well. How you doing, David?
Another ham radio operator. How you doing, sir?
W6TWT 73, my friend.
I am WB6, no BS.
No, really?
Seriously.
That's a good vanity.
I held on to that call because of that call.
I would keep that one. No one ever forgets your call sign.
Listen, I got two quick questions. Number one, I'm in a new apartment house up on the 5th floor. The apartment house has Spectrum 100 megabit Wi-Fi available.
Yeah.
And I have to go down to the first floor. I'm logged in as a guest resident, but I can't get it up on the fourth.
So it's Wi-Fi. It's not coming into your apartment. It's a Wi-Fi connection.
Yeah, you got to be direct site, I guess.
Well, yeah. See, that's the problem. It's not Spectrum's fault unless it's Spectrum that did the installation. They need to get a Wi-Fi access point closer to your floor. You're just too far away. That's the apartment complex, or if the apartment complex contracted out to Spectrum or somebody else, it's their fault. But having an access point on the 3rd floor isn't going to serve the people on the 5th floor. And even if it did, it would be considerably slower.
Well, I got
now,
my
here's a question, and this might be one you got to ask the building management, but can you get your own modem in your apartment?
Yes.
That's what you should do.
Yeah. Well,
do you have to pay more? Do you have to pay more for that?
Oh, yeah. I got to pay the full monthly.
Oh, I get it. So it's free if you use the Wi-Fi on the 3rd floor, but you have to go downstairs to get it.
No, only on the 1st floor. The 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th can't get it.
Oh, they're all complaining then.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, apparently building management either cheaped out or they decided, well, you can have it in the lobby. A lot of hotels is like that. The only good Wi-Fi is out in the lobby. You go to your room, it's terrible because Wi-Fi, you have to put access points nearer to nearer to you, and they didn't. They apparently put one down in the 1st floor or the basement. And so I think what they're trying to tell you is you got to pay for your own connection if you want a decent connection.
Yeah, well, I had a brainstorm. I know that C. Crane has a booster antenna that I think is like $39, $40. And I was thinking of myself because I have a direct line of sight out my kitchen window that goes right down to the first floor.
That might work.
And I go fishing.
Yeah, that might work if you have a better antenna. Especially if it has line of sight down to where you think the access point is, that may well work.
I just have to reel myself in because I don't want.
You actually don't hang out the window when you do it, please.
Well, the cord has to go down the window.
Oh, you're gonna. Well, oh goodness gracious. But yeah, you don't have to. It doesn't have to go all the way to the 1st floor. Keep letting it out until it's good signal, and then you can stop. Or you could volunteer. You could go to the apartment super and say, "I'd like to volunteer to improve your internet access for everybody." I bet you they don't want to. I bet you they just figured, well, we'll put it in the lobby.
Yeah, well, I have asked them, and you have to go through a real slow service with access through AT&T.
Yeah.
Which is 1 megabit.
Yeah.
Megabit.
So if you could persuade them, or maybe get your neighbors together and persuade your neighbors, get somebody on the 2nd floor to put in a Wi-Fi extender, and then somebody on the 3rd floor, and then somebody on the 4th floor. If you get one on each floor, you could actually kind of, as a team, improve the Wi-Fi that way.
I'll toss that around.
Yeah, just ask your neighbor, because I bet you all your neighbors are up in arms saying, "Well, we want better Wi-Fi. This isn't an ideal situation. We'd like to improve the."
A lot of them are selling for the 1 megabit access to AT&T, and that's going to help me out. Okay, fast question set number 2 is I have a workforce 3640, and it was given to me, and my friend upgraded to a different brand. He's had some problems with it, but that's his. And I'm up here trying to just print it directly from my laptop.
Yeah.
And I can't seem to communicate with the printer. I don't have Wi-Fi. I don't have a router. Can you use a wireless W3640 and hook it direct to the output.
Well, I think you can use it as a USB printer. Is there a USB port on it?
Yeah, but it's for a finger stick.
Oh, it's not. It's not designed to print via USB. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that model. Epson, of course, is a sponsor of this show, so we love Epson, and those workforce printers are great, especially if somebody gives you one. If you can't print via USB, it's not going to be much use to you. You need to have Wi-Fi. I would have thought you could print via USB. Let me check. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. That's about the worst kind of error we were talking before the break. With our caller who said, well, my computer restarts and then it goes on. And where would you look? Could be that's the kind of error. It's so hard to track down. Reseat the RAM, reseat the cards. You might get a log. If you have a log file, it might say, if it is software, Windows, as it starts up, creates a log of the startup. You can actually turn that on in the, the startup menu. If you press and hold the Shift key, sometimes it's F8, but usually nowadays on Windows, maybe 7 would be F8 still. Press and hold the Shift key when it says starting Windows, and then you go in the start menu and you say log startup, and then go on. Keep that log turned on, because when it crashes, there'll be an error in the log. And that last thing that it tried to load, that's your culprit. John is on the line from Bay City, Michigan. Hey, John. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hey, Leo. How you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm very good. Question. I'm experimenting with cutting the cord, and I'm having some resolution, I guess you call it, issues with live sports.
The picture doesn't look good.
Looks choppy, blurry, only on live sports.
And where are you getting the live sports from?
I'm experimenting with a Tableau tuner and a home run tuner for my over-the-air.
Oh, so you have an antenna.
Yes.
And this is coming into the tuner, but the quality's not great.
If I plug in the antenna direct to the TV, it's perfect.
Okay, good. Boy, that's the diagnostic to do. So now we know what it is. You've tried both the Tableau and the HD Home Run, and both of them give you problems.
Yep, and I've tried it through the Amazon Fire Stick, some Roku's, and my PlayStation 4.
Everything gives you a problem.
Just live sports. It's choppy, blurry. I got good internet speed.
But plugged in directly.
It's hardwired.
It's perfect when you plug it in directly.
Yeah. When I do the antenna cable, and yes.
Wow.
I have also done experimenting with PlayStation View streaming, and their football as well looks choppy.
Oh, that's interesting. So
regular shows and newscasts.
You think it's just the action? You think it's the high paced?
I think so.
Do the commercials look okay, or when they go to the booth and Kurt Gowdy and Frank that's the old days. Frank Meredith, Kurt Gowdy, and
correct. Yeah.
Howard Cosell. They're standing there. They're not moving, and it looks fine.
Yes, and I played with settings, 480 up to 1080.
Okay, well, yeah, it's not settings. So, how old is the TV?
A year or two.
Okay.
It's a Philips.
And it's an LCD?
Yeah.
Yeah. So LCD TVs do have trouble with motion. And that's why many TVs have, and I don't like it, but for this, it actually is a good idea, have a setting for a higher refresh rate. And that often improves, it smooths out the movement.
Okay.
So, Frank Gifford, thank you. Don Meredith. Don Meredith? Don Meredith. Frank Gifford and Howard Cosell. Sorry, I'm channeling 1974. It's a problem I have. So I think that the problem is I don't know what Philips calls this. Everybody calls it something else. But you're going to look for a higher frame rate. Now, you aren't getting a higher frame rate, but what it does is it smooths it out by interpolating frames in between the frames. So you want to set it to 120 hertz, and some TVs even go to 240 hertz. So what you're getting is probably from over the air, I'm going to guess it's 60 interlaced frames, which is 30p. So you're, in effect, quadrupling the frame rate. That should smooth the action out a lot.
Okay.
So if it only happens when, like, you're actually watching the action or in an action movie, but it doesn't happen when things are relatively still, that's almost certainly it. And that's why they put that in there.
Okay. I'll have to look for
so
that.
you're going to, the problem is I can't tell you, maybe you can Google it, but you're looking for a higher frame rate in the settings of the TV. Not a higher resolution, a higher frame rate. Okay? Thanks, John. Hey, good to talk to you. That's why they put that in. I don't like it because sometimes we call it the soap opera effect because it makes things look not like film, but more like soap operas or more. Sometimes people call it plasticky. It looks a little. Sometimes it looks a little too good, a little too real. Maybe some people think it's a little too smooth, but I think that's the main point of it is for action. And it is a problem with LCDs, especially older, slower LCDs that just can't keep up with the frame rate. Jerry, Riverside, California. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Jerry.
Hi. Bless me, Father, for I have sinned.
Oh, no.
Joking.
No. But I tell you what, you got to do 18 Hail Bill Gates and everything will be fine.
Yeah. My last call or confession was a couple months ago. I called and got some great advice from you.
Good.
Now this is my second time ever calling, and I've got a few questions. First of all, my sin, maybe. I'm using an app to get Wi-Fi passwords hacked. That's what these apps say, but maybe they're all just a hoax. I haven't found one that worked.
Is it like to hack your neighbor's Wi-Fi?
Yeah, so when you go traveling around and you don't have free open Wi-Fi somewhere, which, might not be a good thing anyway, you can just hack into Wi-Fi.
It would behoove me to tell you at this point, I'm not your lawyer, I'm not your mother, I'm not your conscience, but that is a violation of federal law. Not that...
It is?
Yes.
They got apps for it.
Yeah. But not that, I don't think making the app is a violation of federal law. Using the app is. But
seem to work.
I don't think the FBI is going to come a-knocking. But it is against the law. So, and it's it's a federal law. It's not a state law. So just keep that in mind. It's not on the order of tampering with the U.S. mail. Somewhat lower than that. Kind of, it's probably worse than repainting a street sign, lower than tampering with the federal map. But it's in there in the middle.
Okay.
Well, and it doesn't work. I'll tell you why it doesn't work. So it's not hard to crack Wi-Fi obviously if it's open, you can use it. But if it's encrypted using an older standard called WEP, W-E-P, turns out that was poorly implemented and is fairly easy to crack with the right tools and can be cracked in a matter of a minute or two. I would guess if these are legitimate apps instead of just goofy apps, and that's the other problem is who knows what these apps are, right? That's a little sketch just to begin with. But if they're web password crackers, do they label themselves like to test your network, to test your security, that kind of thing? Then that would be legit.
It's just...
No, they say right out there to steal Wi-Fi.
Password hacker, and it has a picture of a burglar wearing a mask. One of them does.
There you go. If you see an FBI surveillance van in the vicinity, I would move on. So if it's a web password, if it's legit program, which it may not be, that may work. But WPA2, which I tell everybody to use, and I hope everybody does use, that is a good, strong encryption. That isn't I would say is not crackable. There are a few cases where there are some issues around things, but basically you're safe. So that's why that doesn't work. I think most of the time it doesn't work.
Now, here's another thing that I saw for cracking passwords. Instead of an app, there's this Geek tutorial, they call it. You type it in under a search engine, and it takes you to some website with a different name and /
You're going to get in trouble going to these things, and I don't mean from the FBI. I mean, you're going to get an infection.
Oh, okay. That could be. I'll have to.
I'm afraid you're going to go to some of these sites, and they're going to go, we got a live one. Yeah. I would say that's not a sin. It's a venal sin. I'm not going to make you do penance, but the only way I know of cracking Wi-Fi is if it has a web password, and it's probably a bad idea. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Leo Laporte here, the tech guy over there in Disneyland, the Giz Wiz himself, Dick DeBartolo, for many years Mad Magazine's maddest writer, and he's our Giz Wiz because he comes every week with a gizmo or a gadget, something fun to play with. Hello, Dickie D.
Leo, how are you, pal?
I am well. I am just looking at Disneyland. You're ready for Halloween. You've already got a pumpkin. No Christmas lights up yet, though. I'm surprised.
No, we do Christmas lights the day after Halloween.
Okay, good. I'm glad you have some restraint.
We do.
So,
so Leo, this is going to be very unique because I found the gadget on Amazon and I said, wait, this sounds so familiar. And I went back, and 11 years ago when you and I were doing the Gizwiz show together, you picked this as a new gadget of the week. Okay. So it's 11 years old. It's still being made. Tell me if you remember the Griffin PowerMate.
Oh, yeah.
USB.
You don't have to say any more. Say no more. Say no more. You know why? I have Microsoft's version of that, which they now ship as an adjunct for their Surface computers. It's a knob. It's a dial. And Microsoft's is programmable. Actually, they've stepped it up a little bit. You can actually put it on the screen, tap it, and choose its functionality. In fact, if you're running a program that knows about the power, what do they call it, the power dial, it'll choose a different function. But when I saw it, I said, gosh, that looks just like the Griffin from way back when.
Yes, 11 years ago, and you have the new version. So Griffin still
Well, no, this is the Microsoft version.
Oh, okay.
That's what's so funny about this.
Oh, okay.
Microsoft made a big deal, and I thought, well, wait a minute. I've had something like that for a decade.
Oh, that's very funny. Because when you talked about 11 years ago, it was Bluetooth.
Right.
And it came with the Bluetooth cable, which Griffin still makes. But now they also make one that is, I mean, yours was USB pluggable. So they also make a Bluetooth version, which looks exactly like that one.
So you don't need a wire.
Exactly. But they both still glow blue.
I love that.
Does yours? Remember how beautiful the
glowing, glowing from the Microsoft never. Because they're professionals. They don't have to glow.
Okay.
No, I love the Griffin. Now, the problem with the Griffin is because it's not an Apple product. It only can do a few things, like it's a volume knob, right?
It can only do exactly. Yeah. Exactly. You could hit it down, and that would do one function.
That would tap a mouse.
You could turn it right or left, and it would do a second. And that was the total thing.
Yeah. But I still love that. I think those were really cool. And it's just cracked me up when Microsoft released this knob.
That is very funny. Now the Griffin Bluetooth one is $44. You know what that one was?
A little more than that, I think. Let me see what. I bet you it's $60 or $70.
Oh, okay.
And it's US. It's Bluetooth only.
Oh, Bluetooth only.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Okay. But isn't it fascinating that a gadget that is 11 years old is still being made? That is like unheard of.
Griffin's still making it. Well, I think Griffin got quite a bit of business from it. I think that was a big deal product at the time.
Yeah, I think it was too.
Yeah. Let me see. Microsoft has it in their store. I think they call it their thing the dial, I believe.
The dial.
The dial. Microsoft Surface Dial. $100. Oh, it's a little more than twice as much.
Wow.
If you're a student, you can take $10 off.
$10 off.
But it does. I think it does a little.
It does a lot more.
It doesn't glow blue, but if you have a Surface device, you can put it on the screen, and it will then give you a menu of different things.
Oh,
I would love it if the Griffin thing would do undo. For instance, this can do undo. So the idea is an artist holds a pen in her right hand and uses the knob or the dial in her left hand, and as she does a change, if she wants to back up, she can turn the knob.
Oh, so that's far more functional.
Well, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I'll go up to $60. Not a
for that $60. Hey, hang on, Dick. We got to take a break. We'll come back with more Dick DeBartolo, Mad Magazine's maddest writer and the Giz Wiz. We'll have more of the tech guy in just a bit, but first a word from our sponsor, Rocket Mortgage from Quicken Loans. If Quicken Loans, best lender in the country, period, for home loans, for refis, that's the one. There's no question. Partly because, look at those customer satisfaction awards year after year. #1 in mortgage origination and mortgage servicing. I mean, that'll tell you they're great. But also, they're highly technologically sophisticated. And it's no surprise then that Quicken Loans has come up with this product they call Rocket Mortgage. It's an entirely online mortgage approval process. The whole thing is done online. And because it's online, because it's computerized, you don't have to dig through boxes of paperwork to find your pay stubs or your bank statements. You don't have to go hat in hand to a bank and ask for money. It's all done on, you could be at an open house, whip out your phone, go to rocketmortgage.com/techguy, and literally, before you leave the open house, in a matter of minutes, apply for and get approved for a mortgage for that new house. You show the realtor, say, we're approved. That moves you right to the front of the line when you're buying a new home. It's easy. It's transparent. You'll fully understand what's going on. There's no mystery in this. Their relationships with financial partners allow you to share your financial information with a touch of a button, so you don't have to find all this paperwork. And then, because it's all computerized, within minutes they can crunch all the numbers and, based on your income, assets, and credit, show you the loans you qualify for, let you pick your term, your rate, and bada bing, bada boom, bada 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 bada, you're done. You got a loan. I mean, this is such a breakthrough compared to my last loan, man. Rocket Mortgage, Quicken Loans. Apply simply, understand fully, and mortgage confidently. Of course, an equal housing lender licensed in all 50 states. NMLSconsumeraccess.org, number 3030. Rocket Mortgage from Quicken Loans. Bookmark that now so that when you're at that open house, you'll be ready. rocketmortgage.com/techguy. We thank them so much for their support of the Tech Guy podcast. Now back to the show. Dickie D is our guest today, Mad Magazine's maddest writer. We call him the Gizwiz. And because he has, well, so this Griffin thing, was this in your gadget warehouse?
No, it's in your gadget warehouse. And what
I do have mine somewhere. I haven't found it.
Yes, and what's so funny about it is Chad reminded me about it. He said, one day can I do the gadget warehouse, because I have this glowing blue thing.
He had one too.
That I cannot throw out. Yeah. And it's one of those gadgets that people just hang on to. You're not using it anymore, but for some reason you had an affinity for it. You loved it at one time.
I'll tell you why. It's so beautiful. It's machined aluminum. It's really it feels heavy. It's ballistic. On the old stereos where if you had a well-made receiver and you spin the knob, it would have its own kind of weight and momentum. The Griffin's like that. The Microsoft is not as nicely made, I don't think. I have to find mine. John is looking around as if it's on my desk. It's not. It's in a box somewhere in the bottom of a pile, at the end of the storage warehouse, on top of a shelf, inside a bag, probably inside a Spam can or something. It's
we talked about that. Is that when you have stuff like you and I, it's sometimes easier to go out and buy
a new one than find the old one.
To try and figure what box it is.
How many times have I had that problem?
And, ThinkGeek sent me a press release of something, and I wouldn't plug it because I already lived through this anxiety. They're making gadgets that chirp or make noises, and the object is you hide them in someone's house.
And it makes them crazy.
Yeah, yes. I mean, I can go crazy here. Every once in a while I come in.
I have something like that. It's called a smoke detector.
Yes. Except when you have 1,000 gadgets, I go somewhere in one of these 30 boxes. Yeah. There is a gadget whose battery is dying. Yep. And
it's chirping.
And I have to go find it.
Oh gosh, that would make me so nuts. And something about that frequency of that chirp, that you can't echolocate it. You can't just listen.
No! You go to one corner of the room and you hear it in the other corner.
I got an idea for a gadget for you.
Yeah?
Get somebody to make a smoke detector detection device that you can find, because inevitably the smoke detector battery dies at 3 in the morning, right?
Yeah.
And you wake up, you hear, tip. Oh, no. And then you have to figure out, Because nowadays, a modern home, you've got a smoke detector in every room. And for some reason, it's so hard to you listen. Is it that one? Unless you're standing right next to it and it goes off. And the problem is it doesn't seem to go off in like every 10 seconds or what. It seems like random. Like sometimes it's 2 minutes. Sometimes it's... and it's the worst thing at 3 in the morning, right? Am I wrong?
No, absolutely right. Absolutely right.
We need a chirp detector. Can you have somebody make...
You know what? A chirp detector is a great idea.
A chirp echolocator. Maybe if I just kind of have a bat lying around, I can just... You'll find Dick at gizwiz.biz. That's his website. You don't need an echolocator for that. Just go to gizwiz.biz. He's got a link to the PowerMate from Griffin. You still can buy one. Still works with the modern Macs. He also has the great What the Heck Is It contest, a chance to win an autographed copy of Mad Magazine. Brand new contest started at the beginning of the month. Yep. But brand new picture of a brand new gadget, or it could be an old gadget. You never know with Dick because he's got that warehouse. But if you can identify it, you're in the running for an autographed copy of Mad Magazine. Even if you can't, if you come up with a clever guess, there's actually more magazines for that.
Or dumb.
Dumb's good too.
Dumb's good too.
It has to be. Otherwise, how would we be on the radio? Gizwiz.biz. Thank you, Dickie D, and thank you all for being here. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I'll see you next time. Have a great Geek Week. Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. Thank you so much for being here. And don't forget, it's just the tip of the iceberg. We do nearly 30 shows on the Netcast network. It's called TWIT, T-W-I-T. It stands for This Week in Tech, and you'll find it at twit.tv, including the podcasts. For this show, we talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on Mac Break Weekly, iPads, iPhones, Apple Watches on iOS Today, security on Security Now. I mean, I can go on and on and on. You even get your daily dose of tech news with Tech News Today. And, of course, the big show every Sunday afternoon, This Week in Tech. You'll find it all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next week with another great Tech Guys show. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.